Hey yo YouTube, I am here to continue talking about the original series I started where I'm talking about my D&D game. I actually filmed the last video that I need to do with the Band of Titans earlier today, but I think I'm gonna release this video first. You'll know why if you stick around to the end, but we last left off where Beck was went into the door, and we ended up spending like 3 hours waiting for him. One thing I thought was funny was that whenever the DM says that Beck went into the door in the last session, Dina's player's like, "All right, who's next?" And we're like, "Only she's supposed to go through," or the DM says it, because at first I stay out of it. Uh, he goes, "Only she's supposed to go through the door," and he talks. He kind of gives a little rundown of what happened last session, how, and Nina's player goes, "I wasn't involved in this conversation." And that's when I jump in. I go, "You 100% were involved in this conversation." I'm like, "You even looked around whenever it was said only one of us could go through the door." And I was like, "I remember because I didn't because I thought it was Nina, which I was wrong about." No, we're waiting for Beck to comes out. It takes like 3 hours. Uh, we're talking Armor Ready, and she tells us that she only has memory for the last 2 months. Before that, she has amnesia, and whenever her first memories are she went through three different worlds, and some kind of tapestry monster tried to sacrifice her, and she was saved by the Band of Titans. And Armor Ready also kind of questions Nina about her three guards, the Dogheads and Gotaku, and then she also kind of brings up that the mission last session was to get Beck to the door, and at one point Ivan, one of the Dogheads, went back to protect Nina, and she was kind of like that wasn't the mission. The player kind of argues it like, no, I didn't, or kind of change the narrative so it doesn't make it sound that bad. And like the DM's like, no, I specifically remembered you went after Nina instead of going after Beck. And one thing I forgot to mention last session was that the creatures we fought, whenever they hit us, they brought down our dexterity. Uh, Onyx Scar fills 1 DC and loses like 2, but Ivan loses like I know he loses like 3 checks, so I want to say he goes down like 6, give or take. Uh, but it turns out it's just like slime, and it dries up after like an hour and comes off. And once when we're ready to leave, already does some kind of tri-beam motion and makes some kind of portal for us to go through. And then after that, I guess we're back in the Beastlands, and the DM turns the map on. Before this, he makes us go to a formation, and we see our Lemming squad and a group of the wolf pack, like Jumper said he would be with, getting attacked by a huge group of gnolls and hyenas, and it ends up being a pretty long battle. We sort of because like the Wimics are over here and we attack them from the other side. The gnolls. Um, I remember Onyx guards rolling great. Like I know I get a lot of cleaves. And I kind of expected the DM to pick people off throughout the match win, and that we wouldn't kill as much as we did, but pretty much we participated in almost everything except for like the top of the map. Like the top of the map, the Wimics and the wolves pretty much take care of all of that. And like all the Wimics and stuff start roaring and the wolves start howling. Once when everything gets settled down, Jumper tells us that apparently there's been a bunch of Knoll tribes gathering, and we're gonna have to take an alternate route. And after a few hours, we finally get out of the Beastlands. We end up in a big desert. Uh, the DM tells us we're in the Vulture Dimension, or the Jumper tells us we're in the Vulture Dimension. And I kind of bring up how I recently saw a Roll20 video or Dimension 20 video where there's the 5 year payoff where they see the vulture, and the DM's like, oh, so you know what's about to happen. Uh, I actually only saw where they go to the dimension. I didn't really see what happens after that. So I think the DM thought I knew more than I did. We come across this tree, and there's a bunch of vultures in the tree, and there's a bunch of vultures flying around in the circle. Uh, they say that they're a representative of the Vulture King, and they tell us that we have to answer a riddle. Uh, we could choose to either speak one person as a singular, or we could all speak at once. Uh, it'll be one question, multiple choice, just like in Dimension 20. It's the same thing, except for because I looked it up later on, uh, uh, and I didn't exactly realize what it meant until after I already answered. Uh, Initially, I thought like when it said we're all gonna speak at once, it was like all right, we could all like plan and thought. It isn't just gonna be one person that has is gonna get the idea. Uh, so like Nina says, Onyxgar's choice, and I say we speak together, and then they repeat what the rule is, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, there's no way this group could do that. We're, we're realistically we're dead, and the vultures ask vultures yay or nay, and I say yay, and Nita's player doesn't say anything, so the DM's like, you're supposed to all answer, uh, because it's you're supposed to all answer the same thing right after the question gets asked, no hesitation. Uh, and then he does it again, and this time I mess it up. I don't say it on time, and then like the DM's like, you're lucky. I'm not a stickler for the rules because technically you would all be dead right now because it said like 1,000 vultures would peck us to death if we're wrong. Uh, then like the third time we get it right, but yeah, we're talking about it. I was like, yeah. Once when I realized what's going on, like, there's realistically, there's no way this group would be able to do that. Like all the stupid dog heads and stuff, and the DM was like, yeah, technically, the whole party would have had to have said something. So the dog heads and even like technically, I'm glad Raw Rights player wasn't here because it would have been incredibly difficult, I think, for all three of us. And then as a reward, the vultures leave. I believe a feather, an eye, a vulture eye, vulture intestines, and I believe a vulture skull. Um, all of the vultures leave except for one. We see one of them still hanging out, and we start continuing on the mission. So eventually we do hit the waves and we start seeing Admiral's Paw. We travel for some time. Eventually we come across a bridge where there's a forest on each side. Uh, Kind of similar to like we saw before too, now that I think about it. Uh, and after like 40 minutes after that, we see a turn. And we end up coming to an unfound door. Uh, Whenever Nina gets the vision or whenever she sees the door, she recognizes it. Because when we're at the forest, Nina's like, let's rest. And because like we've been traveling for like 24 hours. We actually had like 3 fights in one day in this in this journey, which that's never happened before. But like Onishgar kind of says we should keep pushing on. Uh, but then once when we get to the door, that's when it's like, all right, there's almost always something on the other side of that door. Maybe now we should rest. And that's when, like I said, Nina notices that it's the door to Ganesh City. Um, but we get told that uh, I want to say now when we hit the waves is when Beck tells us what she saw when she went through the door by herself, the nothing. Uh, she said like there was an ancient vampire in there, a type 1 vampire named Tyborg, and it's going to teach her something that eventually she could teach us. Uh, and either she or I know that it gets told to us that we have to get back to Fort Tar once when we get out of the waves. Uh, so yeah, we get into Ganesh City. Send someone to report to the wise ones and hit the teleporter. And then I'm like, so to make this clear, we we started off in Fort Tar. She got a she got a vision to go to the place where the guardians are to go through that door, and then after that we go through the ways and all this stuff through the ways in these other dimensions just to come out in Ganesh City and return to Fort Tar. So we take a teleporter to Fort Tar. The DM has the map up of us coming out of the teleporter, asking us which way we come out. When we come, there's like a gathering not far away. Most of them appear to be female. We see this big ogre-looking thing that doesn't look too different from the beast-like painting that's in the temple that we keep asking about. Uh, and there's like two big scenes that were in this session. The first one was the vulture one, which I feel didn't stick right because my dumbass chose group instead of single. Uh, and then this one where the DM starts, because we've seen this ogre before and this ogre looking thing before in the other campaign. It has a very distinct voice, so the DM starts talking in that voice, and it's like, Master Forger, how was your trip? And also someone who has a very distinct voice that I use is Johann Stonecrusher. And and I all I've been doing is traveling with the Manny the last few days, and this one sticks because Nina's player realized exactly what's going on. Because also you could see in the map where the ogre-like person is talking, you can see Johann and Basker, the characters from the other campaign, or my character from the other campaign. And Nina's player is like, well, I guess we found Johann. Uh, so we approach, or Nina sees most of this because she's in the front. So she approaches the ogre troll looking thing and like starts asking him questions, and like they ask his species and stuff, and he says he's an ogier. He says he hasn't been to from in this world for very long. Uh, Somehow Armor Ready gets brought up, and he's like, "Oh, I know Armor Ready." Uh, we kind of ask him if he could come with us to go to the door, and he's like, he has prior engagements, like he's escorting this group of girls to somewhere, and like they might have to leave soon. Uh, Nina's like, we gotta go with them. We're leaving there. We're leaving to go with them, and that's convenient because that area isn't too far away from Armor Ready. And it's like, God, you were obsessed with seeing them already. And I'm not exactly sure if we're supposed to leave this area yet. Nina's 100% right that it's a huge coincidence that this Ogar thing is here. And more than likely, they are the key. Eventually, I do make a request for our wise ones to show up here, though. The wise one and the Brotherhood of Knowledge to come see it, because apparently they're going to be here for a day, so it wasn't hard to pull off. A few things happen, like Basker does a scent check to see, because the women group is a strange group. The Between the women, because like I asked, does the gulag smell like gulags? Can I tell it's a weretiger? And then later on, I messaged the DM, what did Beck smell like? I couldn't tell they were gulags, and he said Beck smelled like a predator, and he said a lot of the times animals avoid her or try to or get aggressive towards her whenever they see her. But besides some conversation, that's where we wrap up. And if you want to know why Johan's here and not still with the Band of Titans, watch the video that I said I recorded earlier today to find out. And watch this series next episode too. And I guess I'll check you later.